Hey, welcome to World Entertainment, and it looks like big changes could be happening over at Paramount because Paramount, or at least shares in Paramount, are up for sale. Yes, apparently the likes of Sherry Redstone is considering sale of Paramount to Skydance. Now, it's not the full studio, it's nothing like that, but it is sale of control because it's the shares in the company. But the question now is, what will that do to Star Trek? In particular, new Star Trek that they are making and looking to make. Just to stop the video for a minute, just very quickly to ask, hit that sub button. That would mean a lot. Also, if you're interested, we've memberships. You can check that out. It's $3.99 a month. Bunch of videos on there at the moment, and I've just dropped a video on Batman The Long Halloween, the comic, not the animated movie, the proper comic book, if you're interested. So let's continue with this. Well, we're going to have a look at what this means, because this means this could be the end of Kurtzman Trek completely. And it's interesting as well when we see about Sherry Redstone, all she did to get back control, and the merger, because the merger is where we ended up getting the ability to have real Star Trek, the ships that look like Star Trek ships, uniforms that look like uniforms, the character stuff, back to looking like they should. There was no need anymore for the 25% different. They obviously still have never gone with that, but it means if shares are broken up again, control of all these assets could go elsewhere, and they talk about that in this. It could mean we end up with a completely fractured Star Trek again, or just the end almost completely, at least for a good few years until they decide, oh, let's just reboot it all again. So let's have a look at this. So, new Paramount takeover buzz could impact Star Trek franchise. Once again, Paramount Global is the subject of speculation in Hollywood and Wall Street. There are credible reports that a controlling stake in the media corporation that produces and distributes Star Trek is up for sale. The latest round of speculation in the media started with a report by industry watcher Puck regarding how Sherry Redstone is considering selling her controlling stake in Paramount Global. Redstone, via her company National Amusements, owns 10% of Paramount Global, but more importantly, 80% of the voting shares in the media company. According to the report, which has subsequently been backed by the Wall Street Journal and others, Skydance Media, owned by David Ellison, and private equity firm Redbird Capital are in early talks with Redstone. Skydance has had a long relationship with Paramount, co-producing a number of blockbuster movies, including the last two Star Trek feature films, and are also on board for Star Trek 4, which will never happen. The Wall Street Journal reports Redstone has also met with Activision CEO Bobby Kotick, no idea what way his name is said, who will soon be departing Activision with a $400 million following the company's recent acquisition by Microsoft. So it appears she is at least considering selling her stake in Paramount. The idea of giving it to the dude from Activision is a terrible idea. And to be honest, it's not exactly a screaming endorsement to give it to Skydance either. Buying out Redstone is seen as a cheaper way to get control of Paramount Global without having to purchase the company and its debts outright. So they're already talking about just take what she owns, because she owns the majority of the voting capabilities rather than having to buy the company. Since the remerger of Viacom and CBS in 2019, creating what is now Paramount Global, the corporation has struggled as it took on more debt to fight in the streaming wars. The stock has underperformed against other media companies, although it has seen a jump in the last few days due to talk of a sale. So they're talking about, oh, the stock has gone up a bit. Paramount Plus, just so you know, has never turned a profit. Never. None of Kurtzman Trek has ever turned profit. If anything, the new modern Trek has probably put more debt onto Paramount altogether. Don't forget, they tried to use Star Trek to launch CBS All Access. It failed so badly that when the merger happened, they relaunched CBS as Paramount Plus, or I should say CBS All Access, into Paramount Plus, again under the leadership of Star Trek. Oh look, this is going to be your new home for it, and it still failed. But we'll keep looking at this. So throughout the history of Star Trek, throughout the history of the Star Trek franchise, starting back when it was owned by Dislue in the 1960s, it has seen several changes in ownership, corporate structure and management. It seems plausible, if not probable, more changes are coming, possibly in 2024. What makes any new changes in control different this time is how tied Star Trek has become to Paramount Plus, starting with Star Trek Discovery, which wraps up next year, and including 4 active projects on the streaming platform. Strange New Worlds, which has just started filming its 3rd season, God help us. Lower Decks, which is cancelled, I believe. Or no, not Lower Decks, that's Prodigy. Starfleet Academy, which absolutely nothing has moved forward on that. And the Section 31 movie, also nothing has moved forward on that. The service has grown to 63 million subscribers, with costs going down, but it has yet to turn a profit. Think of it, right? They said that since the merger, 2019 is when we basically started to get Paramount Plus, and they've only acquired 63 million subscribers in total. That is horrendous in terms of the streaming wars. And then when you add on to that, it's never earned a profit. Wow. However, even if Paramount Plus were shut down, any new owners would certainly look to license the popular content. This would certainly include the Star Trek library and likely some of or all of the active Star Trek projects as well. The process could be seamless, but we could also see Star Trek content become unavailable for streaming temporarily while new licensing deals were struck, as we saw this year with Prodigy. Depending on the buyer, Paramount Plus could also end up being merged with another streamer, like Peacock. It won't go with Peacock. Peacock's in trouble as well. Prime Video or Apple Plus, which would just move the Star Trek content to the newly merged streaming platform. And then they're talking about bundles. So, you know, buy Paramount Plus, get Apple Plus with it. They're a bundle package now. But what you hear about them talking about there then is the idea of selling certain parts of Star Trek to different services. And again, that would end up splitting the whole brand. So that would mean, say Netflix bought a Starfleet Academy, but Prime bought Strange New Worlds. That means those two could never really come together anymore. If there's anything that looks similar, they'd have to change on one of the shows, because you wouldn't be able to have them look the same. You would have to then put in that 25% difference again. And then if they move forward with movies, you once again would have to include the 25% difference. So it's looking very messy. But when you look at the cost that modern Trek has, it's not viable for anyone to actually purchase the rights to that. Netflix has first choice. That was the thing. They had first choice. Any new show, they got to be the ones to say whether they take it or not. And after they took Discovery, they went, hell no, and wanted out of their contract. The contract finally ended, but they paid so much money that they inadvertently covered the cost of the first few seasons of Discovery. Amazon inadvertently covered the cost of Picard. And then they just were siphoning it, all the stuff out to other areas to try and get funding. They were basically never putting their hand in their own pocket to fund Star Trek until now, the later seasons of these things, where they have to, and you notice how scaled down they were. You find out Picard season 3, it's coming out on Blu-ray but no 4K. Why? They didn't film it in 4K because they didn't have the budget to do so. The point of the Enterprise D being brought back and the bridge being recreated to the exact specs that the original was, Kurtzman and stuff were livid with them pushing forward with that plan because of the expense it cost to do it. And they only filmed on it for one day. I think it was either 1 or 2 days. So the cost for these shows and even their Star Trek movies has ballooned so large that it's just not viable. If that Star Trek can't bring you new subscribers and can't save your streaming platforms, then why would any other platform invest in taking it? The only reason they would is probably to have the original stuff. Oh yeah, give us the original series in TNG, while another one goes, we'll take Voyager DS9, and someone else says we'll take Enterprise, just so they could fill out their back catalogues. I don't see anyone taking new modern Kurtzman Trek, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And it won't just affect Star Trek, of course, it will affect a bunch of other shows, maybe even some of the movies, but we'll have to wait and see what exactly happens and where these shares go to. You know, you don't really want Apple coming in there. You definitely don't want someone from Activision coming in, and for the love of God, don't let Prime go near it. But we'll wait and see. It's going to be an interesting one. And with that, I'll leave it there for this one. So cheers, and I'll catch you in the next one.